Quack, quack, quack.
Get your feathers in the air. Come on.
Come on. Oh, yeah. Quack, quack.
12 and 0. I am your host, Adam Chamail.
And I'm Aaron Schroeder.
That's right. I watch way too much Oregon Ducks sports.
Adam, I watched the game, but I fast-forwarded the fourth quarter.
That's fair enough. That was actually when things started cooking, actually. When things are like, okay, we're not about to lose.
They were running around like Benny Hill, baby. It was cooking.
It's like, we're not about to lose to a team that's lost 15 games in a row, which was a good sign.
Yeah, but I'm sticking with my theory. The coaching staff is saying we play the team, not the game.
Yeah,
there was a point where I was like, are we just presuming what their playbook looks like and running plays that we think are in their playbook to see how they... I don't get it. I don't get it. You'd think that score would have been like 70-3.
Well, I mean, it was 41-19. Let's take a step back because I get what you mean. And a lot of
bro. As our loyal listeners know, I'm to the max, full tilt at all times. There's
That's
no
true.
stepping back from this ledge.
All gas, no brakes, as they say, right?
That's right, baby.
Yeah, you're always on that edge. You're on the top of a mountain where no matter where you look around you, there's an edge. You're about to fall.
It's friggin' Assassin's Creed, Valhalla. I'm at the top of the mountain peak, and I'm swan diving off, baby.
By the way, this episode brought to you by Assassin's Creed. They're our official sponsor. They have not paid us money, but, we're shouting them out. Aaron, I get what you mean that we tend to play down to the opponent when we're talking about, Fresno State. That looked a little rough. Ohio State, I mean, we played to them. It was definitely up to them considering the history behind it. Stony Brook even, I mean, it was a beatdown, but Stony Brook was getting the push there. Stony Brook did look a little, they were able to fly down the field a little more than you'd think. And then against Arizona, a team that is coming off a loss to NAU, probably practiced a little too much for us before they played NAU. Maybe that would explain a little bit why they lost to an FCS school. But, it looked somewhat competitive in this one. I mean, it was a one-score game in the fourth quarter. So, I mean, that's competitive in my book.
Now then, that all being said, when I first started, when the game started off, those first, 3 plays, I think it was 2 passes or some shit, 2 plays, touchdown. The first play, they have it. Interception, touchdown. We have the ball again. I'm like, yeah, this is basically going to be this game.
Yeah.
It was to a point actually where I thought because I was on the DVR. I actually thought I recorded the 60-minute version by accident because it was just happening so quickly for that little moment that I was like, did I fuck this up?
Touchdown, interception, field goal. That's how you want to start it. However, then Arizona answers with a 10-play, 91-yard drive. That's what people are getting a little touchdown drive there. Then they then go 11 plays for 58 yards. They get picked off. A pretty awesome pick. And there were
so many beautiful interceptions in this game.
Oh my god. Mikhail Wright
it was a stats day for the defense team.
Well, let's think about this. Aaron, if I remember correctly, which I don't think I really do at the moment, but it was something like last season, I think we were out, the picks were like 8 to 13, like we only forced 8 and then we gave up 13 or something like that. I can't even remember quite.
That sounds vaguely familiar.
Right now, we have forced 13, I forgot the internet, 13 turnovers in just 4 games. 13 turnovers, so averaging 4.25 turnovers per game, and we have given up the ball just once. Now, there's been times where it's been like, oh, that could have been a pick or we recovered a fumble, but only one fumble that Anthony Brown Jr. committed in a very crucial time against Fresno State. It looked like it was possibly going to lose us the game. That is the one fumble in the first game. Other than that, turnover ratio 13-1. And you're gonna beat a lot of games, and that is obviously why you can have like so few plays run by the Ducks, because Arizona dominated time of possession with those huge drives. You could have such few plays, few drives by the Ducks, yet come out with the score 41-19 because you got 5 interceptions.
Well,
that'll do it. 5 interceptions, you're gonna win that game. No turnovers.
That I found interesting, because I guess I'm thinking about it counterintuitively.
Oh, of course.
The announcers were talking about how it was actually a random advantage for the
Wildcats.
Thank you. Mm-hmm. That our offense wasn't on the field as much because they weren't getting properly warmed up.
Well, yeah, I do think
they weren't getting enough playing time. They weren't getting into the motion of the game. And I'm like, sounds like they're just gonna stay fast.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, because when the Ducks came out, more often than not, they were scoring. They were driving down the field. It's not like we were getting shut out 3 and out. It's more like our drives were just quick as hell. I mean, that first drive, 3 plays, 75 yards, a 63-yard pass to Jalen Red, then a field goal. And then the next one was a 2-minute drive, 5 plays, 75 yards. Next one was a 3-minute and 40-second drive, 8 plays, 80 yards. So still just a ridiculous clip. Like 9 plays, 50 yards. Obviously that safety really hurt us, but that came off of an amazing pick where we prevented, probably a touchdown. I believe that one was Verone McKinley, and we had to start on like the 2-yard line.
Yeah. This is something I've actually been seeing just recently in multiple games, where the defender is actually just deciding to catch the ball when they are in the end zone or like on the 2-yard line.
Yeah, well, it's
when
better
it's like a 4th down or something, right? And I'm like, well, wouldn't it be smarter to bat that away so that you get better field position?
A lot of time, if you're in the end zone and you catch that interception, then you're starting on like the other 25 on the 25. Yeah, and that's worth it.
But when you're so when you're if you're within 10 yards of the touchdown zone, it seems like a terrible idea, regardless.
Well, let me tell you
how open you are to it, to actually go for an interception. I would just bat that fucker away.
Well, let me tell you this, Aaron. That what you're talking about, Jordan McLeod, he was at the Oregon 17-yard line. It's 3rd and 6. So 3rd and 6. He throws it out. Verone McKinley picks it off at the 1-yard line, returns it to the 2-yard line, just barely has the momentum's taking him out. But that was 3rd down. If he just bats that down instead of picking it off, they get 4th down. They're definitely going for a field goal. They score. And like even though we got the safety, 2 points is less than 3 points.
But could you not argue?
I'm sure you will.
I feel like I could argue this only because of the exact scenario that was this game. Yeah. But if I was Cristobal in that game, I would have been fine with them taking 3 because it wouldn't have concerned me. I would have been like, we're so easily running up the middle on these guys that they're getting 3 points because we're going to keep making 7s.
Well, Aaron, one day I hope you get a coach of a football team. That's all I got to say.
I will also say this, my final thought on Cristobal for now. I don't think he handled that kid properly.
Oh, okay. Well, now we have different opinions here because I think he did it very properly. We got the clip. Here, everybody.
We got that clip.
I pulled it from Twitter.
Here we go. I got you, boo.
You seem to be all about that Rod Gilmore because that's what you're going for. Oh, I'll hit play right now.
Thank you, sir.
Let's see.
This is not high school anymore. His head coach.
That's fine. Throw the headset. That's fine.
After the conclusion of unsportsmanlike conduct.
Done. Stop there. You're done. Now that's just. No, see, this is all that was too.
I think
last
this goes a
half
bit
was
too far, though.
just.
You're a Rod Gilmore. You're a Rod Gilmore is all I have to say. And that is an insult. I think that's perfectly fine. He screwed us over in that moment, and he's setting it down. You're allowed to yell at people.
There was a point where it became just emotion for emotion's sake. Cristobal lost himself. No. I think. No. I think it was too far.
Unpopular side here. Well, your team will be soft when you coach them. Your team won't be able to catch interceptions because you're teaching them not to pick off teams.
I teach a different way. Next practice, give me 100 laps right now. When you're done with those, I want 500 sit-ups.
Well,
go,
Aaron.
I will burn his body.
Yours is way worse than yours is actually abuse.
But it's off. It's not abuse. It's training, baby.
All right, Aaron.
We got it. A little abusive.
We got to get you. You just said they burned your body.
I don't know. There's just a point where I was like, he's not even taking you seriously anymore, Cristobal. You're just screaming at a kid who's smiling back.
He took it very seriously. He was keeping eye contact. You just don't know what you're talking about. I thought it was a great moment. I applauded that moment, especially how pissed off I was.
Okay.
I mean, because it's not like he just did a bad play. It was like he
did a great play.
And then he taunted, and it screwed us over, and it took possible points off the board. That's why he's so pissed. It's not because he messed up on the field. He messed up literally on the field, but after a play. That's why he's so pissed. And that's literally the least teamsman-like thing you can do. You and Rod Gilmore ought to hang out. Call that Stanford game next week. You'll love it.
See, I just didn't think. I mean, Cristobal knows he's on national television. I don't think he should be acting like that in front of another person's kid.
Dude, football people,
you know what I'm saying? It's not his kid to be acting that way.
Football people love that. You kidding me? Parents of football, they freaking love that. Awesome. Whatever.
Okay, maybe I'm wrong.
Cristobal's
maybe I'm just too nice to be a coach.
I'm glad he yelled at Kris Hutson after celebrating his 5th catch of the season or whatever. Hutson looked like he took it in stride. Seems like a cool guy. I was very glad about that. Overall, this game, obviously there's so many little things to pick apart. But it was a 41-19 victory. It was a dominating victory. The offense looked good most of the times when they were on the field. Anthony Brown didn't have a perfect game. Defense, I mean, you can't. Defense gave up 19 points. That's not the best against this team, but picked them off 5 times, forced 5 turnovers. That is an excellent showing from the defense. I don't really want to think about this game too much because it kind of sucked.
I mean, those were kind of all my thoughts. Like I said, I fast forwarded the 4th quarter. But to be fair, I really did. I fast forwarded all of Arizona's playing, and then I would stop for.
So you didn't watch this game,
huh?
You didn't watch this game then. You just watched the Oregon's offense.
No, the first 3 quarters, I watched everything. It wasn't until the 4th quarter I realized, oh shit, I could just be fast forwarding through Arizona.
Yeah, that's right. So well, listeners, this is Aaron Schroeder. He's not here necessarily for the best football takes.
I'm not here for the football part. I'm here for the human aspect of it.
Yeah, he's here for the color commentary. Yeah. He's here to back Rod Gilmore, apparently. He's here to make sure everything runs smoothly and that this sounds good.
I'm here to make sure the person, not the player, is emphasized.
That's a good catchphrase you just made up. This is the Quack 12 podcast. And when we want people that know a lot about football, we get them as guests and we chat about
and we get them quick, baby.
We get them quick. And in fact, we have a very special guest. Once again, our dear friend and resident film reviewer of Addicted to Quack. That would be Hythloday. On Twitter, he is at Hythloday1, HYTHLOADAY1. We're adding him right now. How's it going, Hythloday?
I'm good. You added too many A's to my name.
Did I really?
Yeah, it's Loday.
Oh, well, there you go. Well, Aaron's got 2 A's in his name. I got 2 A's in my name. We just wanted you to know you're part of the family.
He's got a D before an A, and then he thought about me, so he went AA. I get it.
There's a silent H in my name. Well, not really. It's a
Adam.
Yeah, whatever. Hythloday, that was quite the game. It's another one of those dominant Duck victories that for some reason is getting so many of Duck Twitter just on fire.
It's so boring.
I mean, it wasn't. I don't know if it was boring. At least it was a 1-score game in the fourth quarter. Like they were. Where would you say garbage time really kicked in there, Hythloday?
I have garbage time starting the moment Bennett Williams crosses the end line.
And that was an awesome pick. I mean, I believe that was number 5. If I'm
no, it was number
right.
4.
Number 4.
The 5th one was in garbage time. But yeah, 4 picks during meaningful play is pretty crazy number. And the thing about the first one that Bennett Williams gets is not an engineered pick. That it's just the kid makes a stupid mistake and Bennett makes a heroic drive on the ball. But the other 3 interceptions are totally DeRuyter scheme. You know, if Oregon were playing in a different defensive scheme, then you know you wouldn't have seen those. Which is like. Yeah, I mean, it was just catnip for me for, film reviewer, because it's like, oh, I can use these to illustrate, what exactly, DeRuyter is doing. And, in terms of like layering the coverage, this is going to be impossible to explain on a podcast. But if you read my article at Addicted to Quack, like I have the film clips up where I sort of walk through them and talk about how he layers the coverage so that I'll try to put this is a bit of an oversimplification, but for illustration purposes, that like each defender is simultaneously covering 2 dudes, but looking like he's covering nobody. So the quarterback thinks he's got an open throw.
Sure.
But actually, because it's layered, any one of those guys is in a position, and because the defensive, structure is eyes in the backfield, any one of those guys is in a position to jump that ball and pick up an interception. And boy, they were just, they were really coming.
Now, does that style rely on the players just being a bit faster than average?
It certainly helps to have better athletic talent, but and if you've got clunkers out there, then they'll probably just wind up breaking up the pass or tipping it or just sort of jumping in the way, and then the receiver loses eye contact with the ball and then he has a hard time catching it or whatever. With really good athletic guys, then you'll turn those things into interceptions. But structurally, it's not dependent on the quality of the athlete. Structurally, it's about baiting the quarterback into a throw that he thinks is open, but in fact is covered in a layered way. And I mean, this game has DeRuyter's fingerprints all over it, because what happens is Arizona's first 3 games were absolutely terrible for them. 3 losses, including one that they, to an FCS team. But if you actually dive into the numbers, you find that in 3 out of their 4 quadrants of play, they're not bad. They're actually okay at running the ball. They're actually, their defense is pretty okay. They've got a great defensive coordinator. And most importantly, it's a really tricky defense. Like, they're constantly disguising stuff, and like Moorhead thrive. Where Moorhead really works as magic is that when he understands your rules, your defensive rules, and then he's like, I get to use, you're telling me that if I do this, you will always do that. And then uses that to screw with you. Well, Don Brown's whole deal is that, like, I'm never going to tell you what I'm going to do. Like, it's always going to be a mystery. So like, what Moorhead was pulling when much of the game offensively, I'm getting away from the point defensively, but I'll continue here. Much of the game offensively is this sort of chess match where Brown keeps, retreating and disguising, and Moorhead is just like, well, fine, if you do that, I'm just going to go straight at you, which is why there's a lot of runs in this game. And then as soon as Brown tips his hand, or more accurately, his defensive backs and linebackers tip Brown's hand for him, and it's like, It's zone, hit the deep hole. Oh, it's man, do the fake screen, pull that guy down there, hit him over the top, right? Like you can see it on the film. It was actually delightful to do once I was, identifying when I try to put the clips in my article to illustrate. It's like as soon as Brown's hand gets tipped, Moorhead pounces on it, with a well-designed play. And so that was delightful. But for much of the game, he wasn't able to do that because Brown was being successful at keeping that clouded. There are some other problems with the offense too, but anyway, back to the defense. The defense, Oregon's defense versus Arizona's offense. The thing about Arizona's offense was that, so I said all three of these quadrants, the rush offense and the two aspects of defense, are actually not half bad, and where they were getting absolutely torpedoed, just completely sunk, just the worst I have ever seen. They had the worst passing offense you have ever seen, and there's a couple of major factors in that. One is they went through two different pocket passer quarterbacks who can't pass, which that's a problem. And number two is that Jed Fish was this long, like NFL pedigree, was designing this like mishmash NFL offense that sort of assumed that he has way better talent than he has. And like Arizona has the worst talent in the conference. Like, why did you think you could do that, dude? And so I wrote my articles just like, this guy's a clown. Look at all these dumb plays that he's calling that his athletes can't possibly execute. And then I said, you know what? There's a possibility that he smartens up, that he just junks all of that NFL stuff, designs a running quarterback offense, and puts in the third quarterback who's got a history of being a runner when he was at the University of South Florida, and surprises the Ducks with totally new stuff. And what a genius I feel like that was precisely what happened. And it turned out that Jeff, actually made some pretty, like, I will limit my praise because he should have figured this out for game 1, not for game 4, but by game 4, he had figured it out. And there's a bunch of stuff in this game where he's throwing new stuff at the Ducks, stuff that they had not put on film at all. And in fact, he reserved the best of it for third downs. His third down conversion, like if you go look at my article, where every time I point out a play that's like, this is the first time they've ever run this play, look at what the down number is. It's always third down. So like, way to go. He was also way bolder on fourth down than you would have expected. He went for it on 4 times and he got all 4 of them, which is like, that's bold, dude. But like when you're the underdog, you're playing with house money, right? Like no one expects Arizona to win this game, so no one's going to write articles the next day meaning like, what a fool Jed Fish was for going for it on 4th down, like, right? You know what I mean? So anyway, all of that is to set up what DeRuyter, his response to all these surprises and the new playbook and the new quarterback and all these, new plays was to get even DeRuyterier. Like this was the DeRuyteriest defense to ever DeRuyter, where he's like, already his natural inclination is sort of back off and force you to march the field and, bet that you'll eventually make a mistake and tighten up in the red zone and then, get you to throw a pick. And with Arizona throwing all these surprises at him, he was like, well, let's do that. I need to buy myself some time to figure out what you're doing. So it's this constant, like, retreat. There's a bunch of military generals do that throughout history, but I won't get into that. There is this constant, tactical retreat and then pounce, which is like that totally DeRuyter style. So watching him do that, that was, much of what this game can be explained by is the following statistic. Oregon had 45 meaningful snaps. Arizona had 76. And then look at the score. Right. Oregon is hugely explosive. They get 20% of their plays are explosive plays. 6.5% of Arizona's plays are explosive plays. Like that and the interceptions are the stats that describe the game.
And that's a very good point to bring out, especially for what a lot of Duck
15 minutes to spit out. Yeah,
that's all right. We got nowhere to be. So obviously, what's concerning a lot of Duck fans, and when you watch the game, you got your heart on your sleeve, so that makes sense. But is that teams like a Stony Brook, like a Arizona, like we thought Fresno State, but then we see Jake Haener is the clear Heisman winner this season.
He's definitely the front runner. He's got my vote.
Yeah, is that they're grabbing a whole lot of yards, especially in the middle of the field. When you doing your research on DeRuyter, does that concern you at all? How much they're a lot of these teams seem to be getting more, I guess just the yardage that we are allowing, or is that just part of the system clearly that he's been doing for a while?
I mean, it does not concern me. It is part of the system. That's the simple answer to your question. The longer answer to your question is, there are right now Oregon's defensive front is fairly depleted, and I see some problems with that too. Like it is not a strategic choice to play freshmen and walk-on linebackers and have them give up 3 extra yards on a tackle. That's not a strategic choice. That's a poor execution problem. On the other hand, it's not one that Oregon, that ain't Oregon's fault. They had totally appropriate linebacker depth, and they were just like decimated at one particular position, which the only teams that are immune to being to all the injuries happening at a single position, the only teams that are immune to that are ones that have super phenomenal depth at that position. Well, the problem with that is there's an 85 scholarship cap, and if you're phenomenally deep at one position, then necessarily you are thin at some other position. And the law of averages is that you're going to get smacked by the position that you're thin at, and so you don't want to be in it is wiser to have adequate depth. Think of it like a suit of armor. It's better to have 1 centimeter thick armor everywhere than to be super armored in one spot and have paper armor at another spot, which is the necessary trade-off to make. So Oregon elected wisely to have 1 centimeter thick armor everywhere, and it just so happened that they took a big fat crossbow bolt to one spot, which is their inside linebackers. And so they're I tried to put this in my article too, here's a play where yes, they backed out a bit. They're playing a 6-man, not a 7-man box. They're sort of saying, we're cool with you getting 3 or 4 yards a run, but then it turns into 5 or 7 yards because when Jeffrey Bassa, a safety 2 weeks ago, goes to tackle the guy, he kind of gets run over a bit. So when you ask me what am I concerned about, I'm not concerned with the strategic choices. Those are strategic choices, but I am concerned that I don't know if this linebacker situation is going to, we haven't gotten any injury updates about guys being like, oh, we only held him out because it was Stony Brook, or we only held him out because it was Arizona or whatever. But if they're going to go the entire season, having to play, a walk-on and a freshman and a converted safety, an inside linebacker, they're going to get run at, a lot.
Yeah.
I've been making fun of Washington for choosing to be in this situation. Oregon's been forced to be, and so I'm making a little less fun of them, but it's kind of the same situation. And you kind of see what teams do, have done to Washington. And I was sort of a little worried that teams might want to do that to Oregon too.
Makes sense. And then obviously we saw Kayvon Thibodeau for a bit in this game, and then he came out pretty quickly. I mean, I haven't read even much of the injury reports.
He's not injured, but he tweaked it and it felt weird.
It seemed like I don't know. It'll be interesting to see if we see him at all for Stanford.
Stanford is the game that you need him. Arizona, with the playbook that Arizona was operating out of, Thibodeau wouldn't have got him much because they're not trying to set up in the pocket for 3 seconds and throw a deep pass, which is what Thibodeau, feasts upon. Arizona's getting the ball out on the first read, they're quick throws. And there's just, a pass rusher doesn't get you much there. Stanford, oh my God. First of all, their line is terrible. Stanford is 2018 all over again, not to give anybody hives, but their offensive line can't block at all. They can't run the ball at all. They have one thing which they do really well, which is hit these, deep passes, because the thing that's sort of amazing about it is Tanner McKee, their quarterback. On virtually every passing play, one of his offensive linemen is giving up pressure, and he is a microsecond away from being smacked. And unlike a lot of quarterbacks, and definitely what I would have expected from a freshman quarterback, although he's 26 because he's been all over the world or whatever. What I would have expected from a freshman quarterback is that one of those times he just crap his pants and fall down. But he's nah, even though I'm a microsecond away from being hit, I'm going to hit this perfect pass and then get myself knocked onto the ground.
Yeah, it's been impressive. He's been really impressive.
You can't you can't just threaten him. You have to actually put your hands on him to disrupt the throw. And the one, the weapon that Oregon has that converts scare the quarterback to hit the quarterback is Kayvon Thibodeau.
Right.
I frankly, I would have preferred if he didn't even play in this game at all. Just like totally rest it. Send him to a spa vacation, dip him in the river Styx. I don't care. Like, get Thibodeau back for Stanford, because he's the difference between shutting that offense down completely and a bunch of scares.
Certainly looking at the aftermath, I mean, the fact that he, was taken out, I think everyone would be like, oh, that was a bad idea putting him in. Hopefully he can play. Hopefully he can be close to even 90%. Who freaking knows? So the defense, since Kayvon Thibodeau is not able, since our ace in the hole is not out there, have we looked for different people to build the pressure, or just that same position, just not as effectively?
The only guy who's got the same pass rush or a similar like pass rush profile is Adrian Jackson, who you may recall was out against Stony Brook. He was playing against Ohio State and against he's playing extensively against Ohio State as sort of a replacement Thibodeau. But the thing is, Aaron, I remember you and I have talked about this a couple of times, about Thibodeau in 2019, where what he really needed to develop was the ability to, when the tackle tries to knock him down, when he's coming around the corner, that he has to have the strength to survive that hit, to get flat and head for the quarterback. And when I watch Adrian Jackson, like, I'm just not seeing that, so he has a pretty good get off. He's got these real long limbs. If he gets, a finger on the quarterback, he tends to bring him down, because he's like a praying mantis, right? This long, raptor like talons that he's coming at you with. But the tackles, what I keep seeing in film with Adrian Jackson is the tackles just sort of knock him down. In fact, there's this one play, I don't think I put it in my article, I was thinking about it, where like he just gets thrown to the ground. It's sort of like, ouch. There's really nobody. Like, Oregon has good defensive ends who are good at the like gamut of skills that defensive ends need to be able to do. They stack up the run, so they drop into coverage, fairly well, but they're starting to run low on those too, because Braden Swinson's also injured. And they're pressing other guys into service like Jake Shipley, who's like a defensive tackle. And like I've, identified a couple of times where he needs to be dropping deeper when the play calls for him to drop and he's not doing it. And it's like, yeah, because he's a defensive tackle, like he's a big dude. So like, yeah, all these injuries in the defensive front, they sort of, how to put this? Like, you guys, have you ever worked a job where you take the job and you walk into the office and you realize that the office has just been horribly mismanaged, and like it's just a complete cluster that you've walked into, but you're actually a competent enough person that you can put a decent product on the field and sort of cover all that up? You know what I'm talking about?
The Quack podcast, Aaron does it all.
But then, because the situation that you walked into was no good, you occasionally you show cracks and people come after you. Like, your competence has cut off all the sympathy that you should have. They're expecting you to be 100%, and when you're like, I'm actually killing myself to produce a 65% product, where's my sympathy? They don't have any for you. That's sort of what I see out of Oregon. They've managed their roster situation so well that they're so deep in the defensive front that they look like a top 10 team. But, given the actual players that they have to field on the defense, they're more like a top 20 team, and no one's noticed it yet, like, and if they want to be a top 10 team again, it's going to require dudes getting healthy and dudes getting back on the field. Like, I don't know if anybody in the Pac-12 is capable of exploiting this, but like, yeah, with Oregon's defensive front injury situation, they're kind of masquerading as a top 10 team.
Is the reason for the injury, or is the reason why the one guy is playing both offense and defense because of our lack of a defensive line right now?
DJ Johnson?
Yeah.
Is that it?
Yes, that's exactly what's happening.
Okay, that's why he's there, because I couldn't tell if he was just like, holy shit, he's just so good, we don't we just want to use him on everywhere.
I mean, I sort of think that that's what's going on. They can use him everywhere. Although I think in this game he only appeared as a defensive end. I don't think I saw him as a tight end in this game. But
I think you're correct.
But like, no, it's a situation where the defensive front, it's the ends, the OLBs, and the inside linebackers. Actually, the tackles are in good shape. All those guys are playing, and I think they're actually playing very well. But like, yeah, on the edges of the defense and right up the middle of the inside linebackers, like, yeah, they're running into some problem. Like when Noah Sewell towards the end of the game had to sit out a drive where he's a little dinged up, I was like, oh no, oh no.
Yeah.
I put a clip in my article of like, oh, here's a play with all the backups in. Like, look, that's Christian Williams, and that's Nate Hakelani, and that's Keith Brown, and that's and that's Dante Manning, the backup cornerback. Was like, okay, let's see how the twos do against Arizona. Oh, they shut him down. Excellent. Like I am, given the situation, I am reasonably happy with the way that Oregon has leveraged its depth to put a playable defense on the field. And frankly, Oregon's twos are better than most Pac-12 teams' ones. So I'm not saying like this team's going to lose all the rest of its games, but I am saying that like, this team doesn't have a top 10 defense right now because they don't have the personnel for it. And that they're pulling off what they're pulling off because of, depth and good coaching and DeRuyter's strategic decisions.
Sorry, real quick. I just wanted to say too, that I guess I never got super concerned about the defense because I'm like, well, the offense keeps scoring. So
when they were on the field, they
always score, then I feel good.
I mean, that's the other crazy stat about this. Oregon basically has 8 meaningful possessions, which is usually it's more like 12, like it's a much lower number than they normally have. They score on 6 of their 8 possessions, and 4 of those scores are touchdowns. Like that's it, the
good
other
odds.
The other 2 are a punt and that safety. Remember when Verone picks it off, close to the end zone.
We talked about it.
Where it's like, yeah, giving up a safety in that situation is like, but whatever. Like, scoring on 6 out of your 8 drives, and for those mostly to be touchdowns, is like that drive efficiency number is incredible. And they're doing it with explosive plays because, like I said, the chess match between Moorhead and Brown, and as soon as Brown showed something, Moorhead, I mean, it was especially on third down, they were 6 for 10 on meaningful third downs, which is a great number. Like that, I believe 60% third down conversion is what the number 1 team in America for the season is what the number 1 team in America has. Like, because Moorhead's a really good play caller, like really good. And like, I mean, honestly, doing that film study on the offense was just a total treat. There's one other issue, though, that comes up on the offense in this game, which is that unlike in all of his other previous games, Anthony Brown was making some read errors. Like, it was sort of like, ooh, I haven't seen you do that before. And I think some of it is the way that Arizona was playing defense. I think that there was their dudes were doing a bit better of a job at clouding the read. I think that they have a good defensive coach, and I think their defensive coach probably coached him up in this game. Like, this is how you make it hard for him to suss it out. But still, the RPO playbook has rule. If you're not certain, then you do this. Like, it's not a, you must be certain to do A or you must be certain to do B.
Right.
It's, do A unless you clearly believe that you should do B. And if it's unclear, then they should have done A, and that, but no, you were wrong.
Now do that in 1/10 of a second.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, it's really impressive that dudes, do that. And frankly, for everybody who's like calling for a quarterback change, what I sort of try to remind people is that, like, all these unmeasurable things, count, right? Like Anthony Brown's never thrown an interception, this year, right? Like, what is the value of a pick not thrown? It sounded like a Faulkner novel.
Especially when the potential upside is like maybe Ty Thompson is just this elite passer that will right from the next game be able to. It's like, yeah, you just really don't know. It's a
right. I mean, if if we can comfortably describe, I'm not sure this exactly captures it, but just for the sake of discussion, if we can describe Anthony Brown as a high floor, low ceiling guy, and we all believe that Ty Thompson is a high ceiling guy, but we're not sure where his floor is. His floor is almost certainly lower than Anthony Brown, because like, how could it not be, right? He's a true freshman versus this veteran 6-year player. And like, we all saw how like cool and collected he was in the horseshoe, where like 100,000, screaming Ohioans are calling for his blood, right?
Exactly. Our turnover ratio is 13-1, and that is a big part thanks to Anthony Brown. Yeah,
right. So his floor is super high. It would be impossible for Ty Thompson to have as high of a floor, right? And so the question, like, how do you balance that equation? Like, well, first of all, it's a simple equation, right? Is the amount extra that Ty Thompson gets you, does that pay for what he costs you in making freshman mistakes? Well, that's an easy formula, but we don't have the fourth variable in it, which is how many mistakes does Ty Thompson make? Right. And people who are calling for Ty Thompson don't know the answer to that question either. They are imagining it's 0 because the grass is greener effect, but you know what? The answer is probably not 0.
But you could make the argument the only way to find it is to put him out there.
Well, I sort of hope that Arizona would be an easier opponent so they could do that again. And they turned out not to be. They turned out to have made, the appropriate adjustments to be a more challenging opponent. So that didn't happen.
Yeah.
If
it was like a 1-score game in the fourth quarter, it's like if some of those Duck fans got what they want. If you put Ty Thompson in there for the fourth, because
that would have
sick of it. It's like,
are there seriously Oregon fans who are calling for that? I go into a total bubble. Like during and after the game, until I finish my film study, I don't read anything online because ideological contamination. I'm trying to write a clean article. Boy, I don't know what were Oregon fans saying about this game.
Oh, sure. You could go out there and find someone that is like, Cristobal just ain't gonna cut it. Like, he's never going to.
I did say he went too far with the way he ran. I mean, there's a guy right here who will.
We got a Rod Gilmore over here
for his actions.
He didn't grab him by the shoulder pad.
If he put a finger on Kris Hutson, I'd be calling for his head right now. That would be entirely inappropriate, but he doesn't. I do think that I was listening to Aaron earlier when you were making a point about like that was in part an emotional reaction simply to vent his own emotions, and that's selfish. And I agree with that. I think there is discipline to be done, and expressing yourself very clearly that he hurt the team and that's unacceptable is appropriate. And to do that verbally is appropriate. But like, I think that everyone should be, the emotional self-indulgence is always selfish.
Well, so let me ask you this is a quick follow-up.
Okay.
Would you say a more appropriate response as the head coach would be to make him run 100 laps and do 500 push-ups?
I imagine that he's probably got some workouts in his future.
Probably both. Yeah, he probably did both.
See, so don't give him both.
But it wasn't.
Give him just the one.
I mean, Kris Hutson doesn't get benched. He gets the ball thrown his way several other times in the rest of the game, and that's because, I need you. That was his message. Is like, we can't afford you not to be the player that I know you are. Yeah. And so you can't be doing this stuff. We need you. Like, anytime anybody is ever, you should be afraid when someone doesn't talk to you. Because that means they've given up on you.
That's why I think it's like, you don't say a word until next practice, and then you lay in.
If somebody isn't even bothering to yell at you anymore, what they are actually saying is, I don't think that you're salvageable. And when someone is laying into you, what they're really saying is, I need you.
Right.
This is becoming a self-help podcast. Before we get in there, we got to. So that's the game. It was a game. Let us forever forget this. Thank God we didn't lose. We didn't break that 15-game losing streak on a quick schedule here. But what do you got, Aaron?
I was just gonna say, I also think, I like Anthony Brown being able to throw the deep ball whenever he wants, regardless of his percentage of getting it in the hands. Because I never am afraid that it will get intercepted, because I've never seen one happen.
He's on the schneid for. I know what you're talking about, Aaron. He's on the schneid. Like, I feel like this is one of these things in sports where like a dude's just in his own head, maybe, about like, God, why can't I hit this deep pass? And I think the first time he does it, it's going to open the floor. This is not film review. This is not me as an analyst right now. This is me as like, I am expressing a statement of faith right now. I feel like the first time he does connect on that pass, it's going to open the floodgates.
Has he not hit a deep pass?
No.
I feel like I've seen 60-yard bombers.
He not one
60-yard plays, but
not air yards. No, not a single one has he connected this year. And it's like, it feels like he's on the schneid. And it also feels like, again, this total speculation, statement of faith. It feels like he's final. First of all, I agree with you. He's not throwing picks. He's not putting the ball in danger. And so therefore, yeah, Anthony, keep trying. Because I feel like he's going to hit one, and then that's just going to be the first of many. Like,
I also feel like I see more often than not that they end up going about 2 yards longer than where the receiver is able to.
He overthrows it rather.
He overthrows.
Which is probably
he
why
has
you don't get the
underthrown.
interception.
He has underthrown a couple of them, and there's a couple of them where that's the right depth, but you need to be hitting the outside shoulder, not the inside shoulder. Mm-hmm. Which, given that you throw from the inside, means it's technically underthrown. But he's definitely not putting the ball in danger, and so I agree with you. Like, keep doing it until you hit it, because I know he can hit it. I watched him hit it for 3 years at Boston College. I don't know what the deal is here at Oregon. I don't know if it's physical, kinesthesiology or mental or what, but like,
paranormal.
Our receivers are 1/10 of a second slower than he's used to.
I would like to see Oregon put some of the faster receivers on the field. I would sort of like a couple of those overthrown balls. I'm just like, you know what? I think that Devin Williams or Dante Thornton or Troy Franklin could probably run under that ball and go get it.
What if the dude was taller and faster? That'd make it easier. Yeah.
But Oregon does have taller and faster receivers.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. It's like, why aren't they out there? And
I don't know. There's really no answer to that question. I mean, the most logical answer to that question is that those taller and faster receivers are not doing the things in practice that they need to in order to eclipse the more established players. But we don't have access to practice. We can't verify that. So
not yet.
All right, you boys. Your host here got to get to the tracks. Track put some money down. So we're gonna hop to our next segment. Bottom 11. In which we talk about the other 11 schools. We already talked about Arizona, if you want to call them a school.
I like how the segment started out as a joke, but now is literally true. Like, oh my God, the Pac-12. Holy cow.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this whole podcast started out as a joke, and here we are. Arizona, they bad. And they get a bye week. So
I think Arizona, if they, like I said, it seems like they've plugged that hole. Like, they had one hole in their program that was completely sinking the ship, which was their passing offense was terrible. And now they have a different passing offense and a different quarterback. And I think they sort of, I mean, it's a horrible thing to say, but the kid who just threw 5 picks is their best quarterback option.
Yeah.
But like, if they keep going forward with this and with the other things that they already had going for them, like, I'm not seeing an 0-12 season for that team. They're going to beat somebody.
That defense was impressive, as people were saying.
It's very well coached.
What it's doing. Yeah, well coached.
I feel like even the announcers were making it a point to be like, oh, he's made some major errors, but a whole bunch of smart decisions.
Yeah. You love that errors were major. You'll love them. Okay. So here we go. This was the game of the century. I'm just going to start right into it. USC and Oregon State. Oregon State.
Way to go, Beavs.
Beats USC for the first time since 1960 in LA.
Right.
Huge 45-27. Just absolutely unbelievable.
Yeah, it goes 1 win, 24 losses, 1 win.
Yeah. The last time they beat him, Rich Brooks, the old Beaver, who took Oregon into legendary status as our coach. He was on that team the last time they beat him, and gotta love him. I love Rich Brooks. Truly amazing game. Really crappy that it was on during the Oregon game because they put on all 4 of these Pac-12 games basically at the same time at the end because they are daring us to watch Pac-12 football. Yeah, awesome win for the Beavers. Beavers are starting to scare me more and more. That last game of the season, the Platypus Cup, is going to be something.
Does that mean I didn't get that one right?
We'll get into that. And no, you didn't.
I liked the Beavs of the last game of the season. You know, gives me more film to study. Gives this is going to sound really harsh and unfair, but teams that are deeper tend to do better in November than teams that are less deep talent wise because injuries start to, now is that me banking on and rooting for Beaver injuries?
Yes, it is.
It's a statement of fact, not a wish.
Football is brutal. Colorado versus Arizona State. I don't know why I had even a little bit of faith in Colorado covering because they had plus 14 because it's just like they weren't
going to get to 14, but like Colorado didn't play terribly in this game. I actually thought that they did some things right.
Yeah, I couldn't tell you because I wasn't watching this game because I was watching
it was relatively close for much of the game. Like Colorado wasn't embarrassed in this game. Like the final score looks a little embarrassing-ish. But like, I mean, at this point, I guess I would put Colorado on the bottom of the Pac-12 if I didn't put USC on the bottom.
Yeah,
which like
bottom
maybe we should like.
Well, Arizona's worse than USC, right?
I mean,
Texas Trojans, bro.
Hey, you know what's great? They get to play.
There you go.
Everybody who's like, oh, Oregon almost lost to Arizona. They only beat them by 22. You know what? Most of you guys get to play them. Washington plays them.
Let's
USC
see what happens.
Washington. UCLA plays them. Utah plays them. Like, let's
if Arizona can limit that Husky offense, let's see what happens then.
I mean, I said this before. They play them on a Friday night in Tucson, man. Like, watch out, Huskies.
Decent odds.
Well, unfortunately, the Huskies got another win, 31-24. This one was in overtime because it's that classic Cal Husky close game.
Oh my god! And Cal was about to score on that one too. The ball just pops out on like the 1 micro-inch line.
Yeah,
poor Cal.
Poor Cal. That's poor Cal. That's all I got.
If only they were better coached and had more talent and also had better luck, then they totally would have won this game.
And their program cared more about the football. If only those few things would happen, they would be elite. Number 20 UCLA versus Stanford. 35-24 UCLA victory. UCLA did what they do to win this one. Tanner McKee, though, in a losing effort, did look pretty decent, like you said, just surviving these like.
The thing that's nuts, okay, you can't actually do this because the ESPN play-by-play is totally borked. You have to go to Stanford's website to find the real play-by-play. But like there are so many 3-and-outs in this game. Like it's 3-and-out, 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 3-and-out. UCLA goes in an 18-play drive. Then Stanford scores on it. There's also 2 different single-play touchdown drives. There's the huge kick return by UCLA. Like it's a screwy game. Like if you just look at the final score, you might think that it was like, UCLA would get 3 touchdowns for every Stanford 2 touchdown. And it was a close-ish game that UCLA just sort of outpaced them. No, not what this game looked like. It was, I don't, UCLA is probably the toughest game remaining on Oregon's schedule. But like, I am not a believer in this team. I do not see like quality, consistent play out of them. And boy, Stanford can't, like I said, Stanford's got one thing going for them, which is that out of nowhere, they will hit a huge pass to an undefendable receiver from a quarterback who just throws dimes, even with dudes in his face. Everything else that they do is bad. Like bad, like Arizona bad. Like Arizona is better than them. Arizona is better than them at a couple of quadrants of football, like bad.
That's so good.
But then because they can do that one thing, which is the most valuable thing in football and why quarterbacks and wide receivers in the NFL get paid millions of dollars. It was like they're always a threat. So
And then last and least, Wazoo and Utah. Both these teams freaking stink. 24-13 Utah wins.
Honestly, they are just straight up bad. Like and Utah, which Wazoo, that's not a huge surprise. Both preseason and all the crazy distractions that they've got going on. And they can't figure out their quarterback. Like it's just Washington State. Oh my God, dudes. Boy, it's gonna be fun to talk to Jeff Nusser in a couple of weeks about, anyway, but Utah is a surprise. They should be better than this. And they're just not like at all. And it's like, I don't know, man. I think a lot of people are going to need to start, revising their history of Kyle Whittingham. Like this team should have been much better.
Yeah. Yep. Harsh. So that being said, speaking of should have been much better, let's look at the pickoffs here. The great Quack 12 pickoff. Aaron and I have been making our picks.
I'm enjoying these graphics. This is
you're doing
real
good
step
now.
Up in professionalism here.
I had a lot of free time this last week.
I don't know why the apostrophe is outside of Aaron's.
Oh yeah, you don't have an S normally.
Aaron's
is
your
name, right? Yeah, your name is Aaron's, right? It's a very fancy one. Okay,
Aaron's.
Yeah, that's why
it's Aaron's Choder.
It's Aaron's Choder. I'm surprised people didn't know that.
Oh man, Aaron, this is the first week I've ever seen you get
7th and 8th grade as Choder. It's fine. It's a livable fucking nickname.
That's absolutely canon now. Okay, so we got Aaron's Choder over here. Got Adams's pick. So
verse 2 and 4 are no good.
I can see it all here, but unfortunately, Aaron didn't do so well over here. Got 4 of them wrong. Adam just got that USC pick wrong.
Damn.
And I wanted to pick the Beefs. I really did. But apparently I thought that was too much to ask. You know, they got like plus 14 or something like that. I really should have. Which leads us for the season.
I mean, Oregon State did not just defeat USC in that game. They defeated USC and the refs. Like, what a lift.
Yeah. What a crazy game. Is his name? I'm forgetting it, right? Coletto? Is that it?
Yeah.
That dude rules.
You like that guy? I remember when we were talking to Travis about the way I described, because Coletto's like, he's a linebacker, he's a Wildcat quarterback, he holds snaps. He's like, my joke was that he's the guy that if Jonathan Smith needs a card dumped into a lake, no questions asked, like Jack Coletto, go do, that card be gone. He'd hike back and he'd be taking Wildcat snaps the next day. Like,
hell yeah,
absolutely. So here we go. Aaron at first had a huge lead, but I'm slowly getting to him. 23-21, baby. So that being said, let us get to an even. Oh, well, there you go. There's behind the scenes for you.
This is how it works, y'all.
Aaron, we got to send this off because, like I said, I got to make a bet on the ponies here, but we got to make your picks. Yeah, this next week. Well, both of our picks. By the way, you did real bad. You put some real money on those picks last week. You pushed one because Washington was -7 and they won by 7. So you got your money back on that one. Other than that, though, I think it was just that first game. You bet Utah. And then other than that, you got them all wrong.
Well, that's what happens whenever I gamble on sports.
Tell you what, wipe that slate clean. We'll get you fresh picks here. We're not even going to tell you the spread. We're just telling you go with your heart, which makes no sense, but it makes as much sense as anything else on this podcast. Of course, I will also be making my picks here. Let's do it. The picks. I forgot about that one. Thank you. So we've got USC versus Colorado, 11 a.m. on the Pac-12 network. How low can the Trojans sink, Aaron?
No lower. Trojans by a mile.
Aaron, I'm going to have to agree with you on this one. I think they've got enough in the tank to beat Colorado. Colorado's defense has showed up every week until they break, until it's bad.
Yeah, if there's one team that Colorado's good defense is not going to be able to handle, it's USC, because USC just beats you with super wide receivers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that'll be something.
Good news to me.
Then we've got Oregon at Stanford. We're going down to the farm, 12:30 p.m. ABC with your man Rod Gilmore calling. Aaron, who you got?
Well, I'm just going to disregard all the poo-poo that Hythloday was throwing out at my boys, and I'm going with Oregon by a mile.
Oregon by a mile. I do think Oregon will be up for this game. I think they're going to win. I think it's going to be another one where it may be unsatisfying, but beating the Cardinals is satisfying. That's
we're going all the way to the national championship. Totally ungratifyingly. It will never feel awesome. And
we're going to be like, we beat Alabama 21-7 in the national championship.
Are you saying that Oregon is going to be Florida State 2014?
Yeah.
Like they can't keep getting away with it?
That's
I'm not
perfect.
saying anything.
Yeah,
about
Oregon's going to become the heel program.
Everyone will be rooting for us rooting against us every week. Yeah.
We are the bad guys.
I love that. Washington State versus Cal. This is in Berkeley. This is another kind of desperation bowl. That ain't good. Who do you think, Aaron?
I'm going to go with Cal.
I think I'm going with Cal just because they've showed a little more life, because they've had more time to in the system. But I don't think it's going to be a good game.
Well, first, this game is always nuts. Like if you look at the history of this game, like it's always like crazy stuff happens. Remember the year where Wazoo was really good, but then inexplicably they lost like 39-3. That was Cal.
That's right. And that was that Bowers? Was that his name? The flip in the end zone.
I believe that was that game. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I agree with you, Adam. This is like Cal is like bleh, but Wazoo is like bleh.
Yeah. That's a very good way to put it. That is a very
expert analysis for you.
And the reason why that second bleh was even worse is because they caught COVID from their coach. All right, Washington against Oregon State in Corvallis. I am so freaking stoked for this game. I'm glad it's later at night.
Yeah, I'm glad this doesn't conflict with the Oregon.
Exactly.
Even if Oregon loses this game and I'm in a total like funk about it, I like Oregon State winning. Like maybe I'll just switch allegiances and become an Oregon State fan at that point. Like I will be so up for this game.
It is so interesting, the different mentalities of like Oregon being undefeated at this point, still huge historic win over Ohio State, and still Duck fans just being like, oh, we're not winning by enough. And then like Oregon State fans just like, like still fighting for a bowl game for the first time in a while and just being like, yes, like
put a chain on that chainsaw, buddy. Just like go at him. Yeah, no.
Yeah, go at him.
Yeah, go at him.
I'm all about the turnover chainsaw. I love that thing.
Me too.
Just for the wordplay though.
It is strange that it's like, beavers don't use chainsaws, but it makes sense. Whatever. It's cool. It's a freaking chainsaw. I love chainsaws. Texas Chainsaw Massacre, one of my favorite movies.
Beavers chop down trees, bro.
Well, how do they do it against Huskies, Aaron? That's what I'm asking. In Corvallis on Pac-12 Network. This game's better than that. Come on.
It's
Oregon
actually
State
good news.
Washington?
Oregon versus Washington.
Oh, Oregon State versus Washington.
Oh, Oregon State versus Washington. I've already switched.
And actually, it's the other way around. It's Washington at Oregon State.
Washington at Oregon State.
Oregon State.
You going with Oregon State? I so want it to be true. I want it to be true.
I tried to believe in the Huskies last week, and it didn't happen.
The Beavs are going to run all over them. Jonathan Smith is smart enough to recognize that, like Washington, the one thing they do well is the pass, defense, and that even though they, threw all over USC, he's smart enough to realize that they're vulnerable to the run. They've got good running backs. They're running the ball pretty well, and they're going to do the Michigan thing. That's my prediction. Go Beavs. I want to see it, man.
Yeah, me too. Especially like Washington on the road again. It's just like they seem like such a discombobulated team right now. And hopefully USC isn't smart enough to realize they should be hiring away Jonathan Smith. Anyways, let's go to October 2nd, 7:30 p.m. ASU versus UCLA. This is at Pasadena. So ASU at UCLA. Number 20 UCLA, 7:30 p.m. FS1. Aaron, this is the final pick of the show.
UCLA by a mile.
By a mile.
Sure.
So we're just gonna say you're.
I mean, I don't believe in Chip Kelly. I don't want him to win ever again. I think he should retire and be done with the game.
Wow. Okay.
He doesn't seem like a good guy to me.
That's a different question.
His family? No.
Oh. Okay. Well, you got that.
Yeah, I'm gonna go UCLA.
This is like, especially the way I feel about Jaden Daniels, and then the way I feel about, why am I not remembering his name right now? UCLA, Dorian Thompson-Robinson is just like, I don't want to rely on either of these teams, either of these QBs to pull out the win, but I do think UCLA certainly seems more organized, more ready than ASU.
Yeah,
I'm going with UCLA. Yes. So there's your picks.
There they are, baby.
Hopefully, I don't know. Hopefully you make some money on this one because you're trying to get us to the Pac-12 championship game with your winnings.
I think I'll just buy the tickets, bro.
Well, you won't have to after this week. After this week, you won't have to.
Yeah, when you don't know what you're talking about and you want to go to Vegas and bet on football, doesn't seem like a combo that's going to happen.
That being said, listen to the Quack 12 podcast. Take our picks seriously. They will make you so much money. At Hythloday1 on Twitter, HYTHLODAY1 on Twitter. Addicted to Quack is where you should be reading his pieces, specifically Duct Tape, film review of Week 4, 2021 versus Arizona. Hythloday, as always, you've been a wonderful guest. Thanks for coming on. Hope to have you on next week. Aaron,
you bet.
You've been all right. You've thrown us on some tangents.
Tried my best.
Well,
this game just wasn't exciting enough for me to find anything to talk about that was football related,
or even watch the fourth quarter. I'm about to scream at you the way Cristobal screamed at Hutson right now, but I'm gonna
throw off those headphones, baby. Let's get into it.